Welcome, everyone. I will at this time call the regular council meeting for July the 17th to order. Ask everyone if you would turn your electronic off so it doesn't disturb the meeting. I'd appreciate that. We have a full complement of council members here, with the exception of Councillor Caxero, but we're working on that one. So we're looking for any conflict of interest amongst the council members. No, thank you very much. And we're looking for any additions to the published agenda for this evening.
Oh, Councillor Vokes.
Councillor Vokes.
I know traditionally we put things in or accept things into council discussions, but I'm a little concerned with the time allotment, as you may have seen in the newspaper today. In terms of when the strike was present, there's an abundance of money left over, and the county's looking at some direction as to what to do with it. I don't know if it's imperative that we discuss it tonight in terms of our interest of what should be done with that money, or we just let it go through the process. And
I don't think that would quite fit into our two needs to bring it up tonight, and I think it'd be better if we did wait until this topic came up with the county council and when they make their decision, and then we can discuss that and tell them how our thoughts go.
Right.
Councillor. Thank you
Mr.
very
Mayor,
much.
may I have a
Yes.
point of information?
Yes.
That Essex already sent the county a letter saying that they want their funds back. So our position, the county should be very aware of our position. So I'm asking our two county reps to make our position known again this Wednesday.
And that'll happen, and we're not the only ones. I think there's three others, but it'll end up coming through to us, I'm sure, one way or another. Councillor Snively.
No, through your worship, I was just going to say the same thing. It's going to be dealt with Wednesday anyways, that county. Thank you.
Very much. Okay, nothing further? So looking for the adoption of the regular agenda for this evening. Councillor Snively, Councillor Bondi, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Mr. Roger.
Thank you, Your Worship. Item 5 on the agenda is adoption of minutes, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held July 4th be adopted as circulated.
Deputy Mayor Malash and Councillor Bjorkman, any questions? All in favor of that motion? Motion carries.
Under public presentations this evening, Your Worship, our first public presentation is Liz Daniel, Community Engagement Coordinator from the Windsor-Essex Compassion Care Community. She's here this evening to introduce the second stage of their community pilot study, looking to launch that in November 2017, and to extend an invite or an invitation to nominate the names of compassionate people in the Essex community for an award to be given later on at that launch.
Welcome, Ms. Daniel. Oh, you got it on already. Been there, done that, eh?
I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. So I want to describe a little bit about what the Windsor-Essex Compassion Care Community is and how it came about. So the brainchild of, this is a brainchild of Deborah Sattler. She had worked for the Ministry of Health for about 30 years, and she had seen a common practice of large amounts of money being put on problems such as more like Band-Aids, rather than looking at the root cause of problems. So people are having a lot of strokes, people are having a lot of issues with diabetes in this area, then we'll give a lot of money to those issues, rather than, I do have a presentation, I don't know, do I pull it up, or? I'll keep talking. So she started doing her own research and eventually left the Ministry of Health, and she was looking at Scandinavian countries and other countries that have that pay less for health care, that have greater outcomes. And the one thing that really stuck out was compassion, and compassion within a community. That really we should be looking at 10% of the formal caregivers work, such as hospitals, doctors, nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists. They should be taking care of about 10% of people's needs, and everyone, the other needs, your 90% of the rest of your needs, really have to be, arranged on your own. So that would be neighbors, family, community organizations, faith organizations. So our group, we're housed at hospice because Carol Derbyshire at hospice got wind of this, and she said, I think that Windsor would be Essex would be the perfect community to launch this initiative, because she knew that when someone needs something in Windsor, Essex, that people line up to help one another. So she had nominated Windsor, and this is the first comprehensive program that is doing this in the world. So there are some communities that are doing pieces of this, but this is the first one that is start to finish and proof that it works. So it starts off by having quality of life information on people right now today when you take a survey, and that survey is run through the Research Ethics Board, so it is an official research project. We had hoped initially to get 3,000 people, but now we're looking at 30,000 people. There's an online link that I'm going to be sending to your clerk and asking that everybody on council share this, that they fill this out, because everything will be geo-mapped. And that way, when Brian Massey goes to the federal government and says the core and the Windsor West need more equity, they need more programs, they need more services, and the federal government says, where's the data? Here's your data. That shows, it'll geo-map everybody out. It also gives back information to organizations such as Community Living, Hospice, CCAC, Assisted Living Southwestern Ontario, so that when their people that are in their programs are surveyed, we can provide them back with information on how those people are living with their pain, with their own, how they feel about themselves. Are they depressed? Are they lonely? And isolation is turning out to be the #1 issue with people that are elderly, that are disabled, and that are not doing well in this area of Essex County, that many people are isolated, many people have issues with transportation, as I'm sure you've heard that many times. And those things like isolation lead to comorbidities. They lead to further problems with health. People, if you're not getting out to the grocery store, then you're not going to be taking care of your diabetes well, you're going to be at risk for stroke, etc. So that's why Carol Derbyshire houses this project. She provides staff to this project. There is LIN funding, there is a Green Shield grant, and some small grant monies to try and get this moving along as quickly as possible, because we're in at about year 3. We're looking to go about 6 years, and then we are looking to have all organizations, Family Services Windsor is a big supporter as well, that they're going to be adopting all this into their organization so that they can measure where people are when they come to them, what happens when they connect them into their neighborhoods, to people in their organization, to other organizations, and then a year later and year over year, that it proves that it works, that this does work. So we were ready to launch our first week. We did that at the end of June in 5 communities, and then we're looking to do our next launch in November in Essex, Amherstburg, LaSalle, and Kingsville again, because we had a rain date in Kingsville. So we're hoping that when we have a place and time in Essex for everybody to meet, that Mr. Mayor, that you would attend, and that council members would attend as well. Anybody in the community is, of course, we welcome as many people as possible to learn about this. And we asked also that we did present awards for people, we called them Shining a Light on Compassion, so those people that you know in the community that offer compassion to others on a regular basis. We asked you to think about those people's names now, so that when I touch base with you in September, that you have some people in mind that you could come to the event, present them with an award, and shine that light on those people that are showing compassion. So we have over 100 partners between Windsor Public Library, the Essex Library, again, some of the others that I've mentioned, many faith groups, interfaith groups, and they all want to work together to sort of, so that everybody's not working in silos, that when newcomers are coming into the area, that they're surrounded by all these organizations and these partners. And one of the big things with this is we have, it's right second from the bottom, something called Our World, and that's a community platform that is online, and it provides a neighborhood online. So for instance, the Kingsville Community Center has an Our World group, so that they ask all people that attend their programs there at the Kingsville Community Center to join this online group, something sort of like a Facebook page. And, but it's strictly devoted to helping people in communities. And then they ask all people that are in they're housed in a church there, so they ask all their parishioners to join. So they have a good group of people, of a couple hundred people on their group. And then when people need rides to programs and services, they want to come to services at the church, and then they just post it up online, and then lots of people, the response is amazing. It's, again, shows the heart of this county. And say, I drive right by your house, I would love to drive you, then suddenly people become friends, and then that person is much less isolated. So that's the idea, that although I know that when I drive back home from the grocery store, I'm sure I drive by homes where people need fresh milk, they need fresh bread, they need, fresh fruit and vegetables, and they're not getting out to the store enough. I don't know who those people are. And when we have more and more of these online neighborhoods, United Way is a big one, they're Ford City neighborhood, they're knocking on doors, they're signing up people that are willing to help, signing up people that need help, so that they can just go online and have a way to do that, to say, you know what, I do need a ride to the grocery store, I do need a ride to the doctor, and your neighbor's like, I didn't even know you lived 3 doors down from me, and I would gladly help you. So it's sort of bringing back that time when we all helped each other as neighbors. So that sort of starts again with the baseline survey, and then we have a curriculum called Life and Living Well that we're offering in buildings such as Solidarity Towers and down there on the river, where they have almost 500 people that live there, and we talk to them about advanced care planning so that they're thinking about what are their wishes, even though some of it may not be with a lawyer present, at least their family members know. I went through that with my father, and he had a stroke and couldn't speak. I had to make all the decisions. When he could speak again, they weren't maybe all his decisions, but because he wouldn't deal with his mortality and the fact that he was becoming unwell, then after that, of course, he let us know everything he wanted. So, but we encourage people to work on advanced care planning and letting people know their wishes. That's something that's very much on the radar of the provincial government. We talk to people about their life stories, because that is, of course, something that's very important, sort of where you were born and where you are now and how did you get there. We have had about 100 students through Wayne State, St. Clair, University of Windsor, and some of the local schools come and work in our program, connecting them with people that are disabled, that are isolated, that are up in years, has been an amazing thing for the students. We have a number of nursing students that have said that this has had a great impact on their teaching, because they're actually having the chance to listen to people and listen to why they're not taking care of their diabetes and why they're at such great risk of stroke, and actually look at some of the real answers as to what can help them, not just looking at, I have to change this in the hospital. And it said it was just less focused on a task and more focused on the person, so they've gained a lot from it. So this is just a slide about sort of the makeup of how many people over 80 are roughly, according to the census, that are in Essex, and how many people, seniors living with disabilities, and we would really like to be reaching out to all those people. And the more we get the survey out, then the more that we have that information back that shows these people are lonely, these people are not getting the proper nutrition, they're not getting transportation to appointments that they need, and working together with other organizations to help those things. So we hope that when we do, we had talked to there's an Essex retiree group that just bought a school, I was told recently, and they have offered their space for us for our launch event, so we're hoping that'll happen in November. I think it's the 3rd week of November, so as soon as I have that date, I would like to pass that on to yourself, Mr. Mayor, and City Council, and hopefully you could be part of that launch and help spread the word of making this the most compassionate community. There are 10 communities right now that are waiting for us to show that this proof works, and that when we go back a year from now, that this has actually had an effect on people's lives. So we hope to spread this across Canada from this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the council members of Liz? Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to our delegation, I think it's a fabulous idea, and send an email, and hopefully we can all participate and get the word out. I believe our communications department can probably help get the word out too, because we're pretty good with spreading the word here. So thank you for coming.
Anyone else? Councillor Vokes?
Thank you, Worship. Would there be opportunity to acknowledge or even put this presentation on our website for people to view into if they choose to? And then maybe through the media, acknowledge to anybody that opportunity is there to review it and see what's there for people in terms of the elderly and disabilities and things of that nature. And with that being said, I certainly want to applaud your work, because the reality is without, irrelevant to any financial contributions you may or may not receive in terms of employment, without people like you, there would be a lot of people out there that would be cabin ridden. They really wouldn't know what the outside world looks like because they wouldn't have that opportunity. And it takes people like you, working with people like us, to make things like this happen. So my hat's off to you and everybody who's affiliated to you in getting this done for those people who aren't as fortunate as us sitting here. So thank you.
Sir, and to Lori Brett, Communications Manager, that's possible what Council Vokes is considering?
Through you, Your Worship. Certainly, I can share it in whatever way is, appropriate, but send your information and I'll see what I can do.
Thank you. Councillor Bjorkman?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, thank you very much for the presentation and coming to talk to us about this. So I just want to get a little bit better idea of, so this is mainly a volunteer-driven, program. Thank you. Is that correct?
Well, we have a project management office at hospice with a few employees, but yes, it's driven with students and volunteers, very much so, to reach out to those people.
Okay, so you would be looking to work with our existing services, like Essex Community Services that we
Yes.
have here,
Yes.
Windsor Essex Family Service. So it's
Yes.
more of a coordination of people where you're spending time actually going into homes, talking to people, and maybe finding that need that we would then be able to work with our existing services. You're not looking to come in and supplant services.
No, we're a movement, like an initiative. We're not a program, so we're not supplanting any programs that are already there, but creating those online communities that can be managed by, if someone's here and their grandson's in Vancouver, they can say, call him and say, I need a ride to the doctor's next Friday, and he could put that up, and then he could say, this lady said she'll pick you up, and so those problems are solved. So that, and then that connection is made with that person, and suddenly, they realize this lady's isolated. I really would like to, have coffee with her every week and help her. So it's that other piece of it that's not just the services, because there's never enough services, right? I mean, we looked at care of a lady my age with the worst form of MS ever. This is like my second day on the job. And she's left for hours at home staring at her TV, worrying her house is going to burn down because her mind is sharp as a tack, but she has no control of she can't even blink. So helping her, let people back in and let her realize what neighbors are around her, retired nurses, people that aren't afraid of her disease, so that she's no longer sitting there for hours alone, worried, and somebody could, get her right out if there was an emergency. So those are the kind of things. It's connecting people in, not just to services and programs that exist, but to those people in the community that are willing to help, that just don't know where the help is needed.
Well, that's terrific. It sounds wonderful. We do have, you had the stats there, the amount of people in our community that need that kind of help. So thank you very much, and I wish you luck.
Anything further? I just have a couple comments. Thank you very much, and we all know what is needed out there for sure, but I see Tim Catherwood's involved immensely with this thing. A great person, great friend of the town of Essex. He lives in there, and he's a most recent Citizen of the Year for the town of Essex. So he's a good man you have with you there for sure. So thank you very much for this, and we'll help every way we can. Motion to receive the report, Councillor Bondi, Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Item 6.2 on the agenda is a delegation from Roger and Rita Beaulieu. They're here tonight to ask council for a request for an extension of the Essex Center CIP project area as it pertains to 91 Scratch Street.
Hey, Mr. Beaulieu, just hit that purple button on the front. I think you've been here before, Raj. Yeah. Thanks. Welcome.
Your Worship, Councillor, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity tonight to come and see if I can do something here on regards to 91 Scratch Street. It's in regards to the CIP program, which everybody here is all aware of, and the town is using it up, making their places look better, and I have another piece of property and have decided that it's time to spruce it up. Unfortunately, my property is like right on the border of the north side of the tracks. So I'm requesting to see if I can get the boundary extended to 91 Scratch Street on my property. I want to make it look better. I mean, it's in a commercial area and it has residential area, and I want to fix it up, make it look better, clean it up. Councillor Bajorman has a really good sketch of it to show you how close I am to the line.
We'll go to Councillor Snively and Councillor Bondy.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Mr. Watson, what is required, Jeff, to expand the area? Do we have to go through the whole plan again, or? Jeff?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, you don't. You have to, basically, when it's a minor change to a boundary, it's a bylaw passed by council, and that's as much as you have to do. So I'd have to do a bylaw for council for the subsequent agenda if you choose to approve the boundary exchange, or expansion, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. And further to that, Your Worship, to Roger, is this for your frontage, eh?
That's correct. Well, actually, the frontage and the back, because they both face two going to be nice parts of the town.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bondy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to put forward a motion that when the time is appropriate, or it could be now, that administration come back with a report or it doesn't even necessarily need a report, just a bylaw expanding the area. They are right on the boundary. If we had 15 businesses on the boundary, stack our council chambers, I would be saying we need to expand the program. We just have to deal with the consequences in the 2018 budget, because we know the well's running dry. But I'm really happy to see that the CIP program is taking off, because, you know, like I've said before, it's matching dollars. Like, if we could match dollars for dollars in the downtown core, the results that we would see. So I'd like to make a motion that we draft the bylaw.
Can you just hang on until we get a little discussion in case these people have something to talk about differently? Okay, Councillor Vokes.
Councillor Bondy really said what I was going to ask, so I'll certainly second your motion, but the reality is for council, and I know you're all familiar with the main street, Roger's particular piece of real estate he's talking here tonight is really isolated. It's not like we're opening something up where people are going to come in by the grows tomorrow, lining up saying, hey, I want the same thing Roger got, because it really is an isolated event for him. I really would like to see it being vacuumed into, if you will, the program. So thank you.
Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. I too am in agreement to extend the boundaries. Knowing the Beaulieus, I would say that the property would probably be really well taken care of if this program was made available to them, and they're right on the border. We arbitrarily picked, the best cutoff where we could. And unfortunately, you weren't in that cutoff, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't expand it a little bit here to cover. So I'm in agreement with expanding it with a bylaw. Thanks.
Now I have Mr. Morrison, or Watson, I should say, our assistant planner, who wants to make some comments, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have not had much chance to talk to Roger about his specific plans because unfortunately we had to say no. But if you are going to take in his property, I would suggest that you take in that portion of the railway corridor that forms what we call our silo district, basically the future park, and take in the railway museum as well. Because I think, when Roger talks about the back of his property, that's probably more important than the front of his property is, because it's facing what is our future, hopefully our future park, our downtown park, which is going to be a very, very significant feature if that land is acquired. And I think it's actually important to think about the back of his property more than the front of his property because of that impact. So I would take in that portion of the CN Rail corridor, which would go to the east limit of Home Hardware, and take in his property and the Railway Museum as well. I think that's a more complete package.
Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, I agree 100% with what Jeff's saying here. And if anybody's looked at the downtown area in Essex and Harold, that CIP program's really taken off. So you see, if you look at A1, look what they're doing to their storefront. It's beautiful. So I support this myself too. So I would support. Thank you.
Okay, no one else? A couple of comments. I hope when we do get a report back, because we did pass a boundary line, I hope there's a map there showing us where the boundaries are, that we decided this is it. Outside of that's too far. Whether it's close, not too close, this is the first of possibly many. Once we get a map of Essex Center, as to, well, here's his property. Hey, here's my property right here. Look I'm only one block further away. Where are we going to stop it? We don't have money as it is right now, and I don't know. I need to see all this information. I'm not against, well, I'm kind of against improvements in our municipality. When do we stop? I have people almost daily, as soon as we discuss how much money, and it was in the paper a couple weeks ago, 251,000 here, 248,000, and those are our tax dollars, and that's what people are saying to me. My tax dollar. I own a home. When do the taxpayers start improving my house? My house falling down. I get those things too. I know we want downtown, Main Street, but how far out are we going to go? Is this council prepared to go? We went through that in Harrow a couple of years ago. Same thing. When do we stop it? Where are we going to stop it? I just would like to make sure we have a map showing us how many more people are going to come after us, for a few bucks to fix their property. Okay? So we have a motion. Councillor Bondi, want to make a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'd like to make a motion. This is a good problem to have, I think. It's rewarding good, positive behavior. Yes, we have to figure out how to fund it, absolutely, but we're going to get the money back in assessment. We're going to keep businesses here. We're going to attract businesses here. We're going to bring up the morale of the streets. Of all the problems we have, this is a good one. So I'd like to make a motion that we go with our planner, Mr. Watson's recommendation, and expand the CI program east of the railway silo district. I think you can run with it, Jeff. Kind of know where, what needs to be done. What he said.
Seconded by Councillor Snively.
No. Mr. Mayor, there's an original motion. I think this is a friendly amendment. I was just looking for Councillor Vogt's support.
Okay. Councillor Vogt. Okay, good. Anything to the motion? Councillor Vogt.
Thank you. I just want to get some clarity because I think we agreed that we're going to expand that area and with just for reason why. So now I would just briefly want to talk about the financial support. Is it the intent to move, if Roger was to make application, would it be intent to move the financing from 2018 back to date today and support his initiatives to enhance that environment? And is that we agree on that? I'm hoping we do. I think we do, right? So I just want to get clarity, that's all.
I believe in Mr. Jabor's report, it made reference to the 2018 budget, did it not, Rita?
Through your worship, it's actually Jeff Watson's report, but that's right.
Get a better voice and you speak louder than Jeff does, so I can hear you. Thank you. Councilor Vokes. Yeah.
So, okay, so in terms of Jeff's report, it highlights it there. And even though it's in the report, it has to be still concurred with council, right? So we're all good, our intent is to concur with moving the financing from 18 to back to now, so he can move with this project, correct?
Councillor Vokes, I believe so, but that's in a separate report. That's in a separate report. It's
Okay, so-
report 8.2.
Okay, so then, if I could, would it make sense to council, we gotta talk about it tonight, so would it make sense to talk to it now? And then Roger would have the opportunity to leave here tonight, knowing what that report spelled out for him.
It's about 30 seconds away on the agenda, literally 30 seconds away.
Okay, well, if that's time frame, then that's time frame, I'm just saying. Oh, okay, all right, very good, yeah.
Okay. The motion was, let's read the motion so I'm clear.
So the motion is for administration to prepare a bylaw to expand the CIP project area to include 91 Scratch Street and to include the CN Railway corridor, the Silo District, including the Railway Museum.
Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Motion carried. Unanimous.
Receive the report, or receive the delegation.
Yes. Motion to receive the delegation, Mr. Bowyer. Councilor Bundy and Councilor Fisherman Snively. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 8.1 on the agenda is Planning Report 2017. Sorry about that. 8.1 is Planning Report 2017-29, re-site plan control application, Colchester Ridge Estate Winery, together with bylaw 1623 for 3 readings. That said report be received and that council concurs with the recommendations and approves the site plan control agreement, together with passage of bylaw 1623.
Moved by Councilor Snively, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 8.2, Planning Report 2017-30, re-Community Improvement Plan funding request for Essex Center, that said report be received, and that council concurs with the recommendations and approves the acceptance of CIP grant applications by the Planning Department for the Essex Center CIP project area for the balance of 2017, with the payment of grants to be deferred until 2018 upon adoption of the 2018 budget.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Malash, supported by Councilor Snively. Any questions to that report? Councilor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Worship. Just to the report, I read through and I'm trying to find exactly how much money right now are we short in the CIP for 2017?
Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On July 4th, Council gave $61,000 for extension of the CIP program through 2017. 49,000 of that was actually taken up by monies owed to projects that are nearing completion. So we have about between $21,000 and $25,000 remaining from that $61,000. The problem we have is that you know, the first 2 years Essex Center, there wasn't much activity for CIPs, and now we're literally getting 3-4 phone calls a day. It's really been popular with the business community, and you know, the issue of expanding boundaries. There's also the issue of where the money is going to come from, and we don't want to be in the position of giving people a false promise. In other words, saying to them, well, go ahead, make your application, and council may pay you at some point in the future, when we don't have a commitment from council to do that. And that's really the big concern. Our estimates are that in addition to the $25,000, there could be another $30,000 that we're going to need. And in my report, I gave council 3 options: either say no, we're closed for 2017, or to basically give an IOU to somebody such that we would accept their application, we would go through the process with them, get the projects completed, but pay them in 2018 when council has allocated money in the 2018 budget. The other option we gave, though, which is another one for council to consider tonight, is that we draw from that 2018 fund now and pay them now, basically knowing, with council knowing at some point next year, potentially up to $50,000 might be owing for 2017 projects that will not be completed in 2018. They'll be completed now. So there's actually two recommendations for council to consider, other than deferral. One is to basically draw from the fund for next year and pay now, or basically give an IOU for next year, based on projects completed now.
I'll go to Mr. Jeff Morrison, our acting treasurer, for comments.
Through the chair, the preferred option from the finance perspective would be number one, where you do a pre-approval of the 2018 budget, and that way you can continue with the forward momentum, and we don't have to do an IOU or pay in 2018. So you'd pre-approve the amount's $50,000, so we can just continue to pay out in 2017.
Thank you for that, sir. Councilor Bjorkman.
So to that, right now, if there's 21 to 25,000 in the CIP fund that is not, applications have been not made. Applications have not been made against that funding right now. Is that true?
That's largely true. We expect applications probably tomorrow for some of that. We've been discussing with people today, 4 different people today, about that.
Well, I agree with the forward momentum and continuing to have the investments that are happening in our towns. I think it's some of the best money we're spending, going back to what Councillor Bondi was talking about with job retention, people opening new shops, bringing people in. It's well worth it. So the finance department recommends that we draw forward and pay now, then I would suggest that's the route we go.
And Councillor Vokes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, and I don't want to keep reiterating it, but the reality is if it was a program that was questionable and whether it was working or whether we were receiving fruits of its labor, to approve money to be given now and maybe no opportunity to recover it later, then I could understand. But that's truly not the case here, so I would ask that we move with this just as quick as we can. Thank you.
So, move the recommendation from our acting treasurer.
Yes.
Sir.
So I would make a motion that we approve drawing from 2018 year to add to the 2017 CIP funds needed. Now, I believe up to 50,000 was what we were talking to start. Is that correct? So that we draw $50,000 to add to 2017's CIP.
Questions to that motion? I have a question. 50,000 is going to be the max we bring out of 2018, or do we plan on maybe January meetings going on and we say we want another $50,000 or $80,000 put into that program? Through the recommendation, yes.
Through the chair. So based on the 2018 to 2021 forecast that was adopted, the amount that was in there was $75,000. There is a memo coming forward that identifies the 2018 budget timelines. So if additional money is needed later on, it can be considered by council through that process. But right now, in discussions with planning, $50,000 and the additional $25,000 that was approved from contingency and Rita's report would be sufficient.
Okay, thank you. The motion was to move the money from 2018 so we can use this year. Yes. Yep, 50 grand. Ready? All in favor of that? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 8.3 on the agenda this evening is a verbal report together with presentation from Lori Brett, our Manager of Communications, and Nelson Silvera, our Economic Development Officer. They're speaking to the tourism website launch and the market-ready guidelines.
Welcome, members of our team.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I need a moment just to switch over. Do I just do that right here? Okay, very good. So tonight we're very excited to launch our new tourism website. It's called tourismessex.ca. And I'd like to take a few minutes just to give you some background information, and then I'm going to show you a few things on the site, and then Nelson will discuss the tourism directory and the business aspects of what we've done with this website. You might recall last fall, I came to council and council approved the early stages of this project. You approved the financing for the project, and so the planning stage for the project started last fall, and we had input from members of an internal tourism working group that consisted of our interim CAO, Donna Hunter, Doug Sweet, our Director of Community Services, Jeff Watson, our Policy Planner, Nelson Silvera, our Economic Development Officer, and myself. The implementation process for the website began in earnest in March. We're using the same website design company that we use for our corporate website, and that's eSolutions. And it's taken us about 3.5 months to develop this website from start to finish. I'd like to just acknowledge that although communications has responsibility for maintaining the website, building the website, I did a lot of writing, I had a tremendous amount of help from Nelson, who contributed content, web banners, he conceptualized the tourism business directory, and he worked with our summer student. We share a summer student named Morgan Graham. And Morgan has conducted dozens of business interviews, and she's written just about as many profiles for the tourism directory. She's a fantastic photographer, and she's taken thousands of photographs since May, not just from the businesses that we are profiling on the website, but from around our community as well. So she's really helped us to develop a whole database of photographs that we can use going forward. So the things you should, so here we go. Here's the website. You'll notice that it's quite visually appealing. There are a couple of things that we kept in mind as we were developing this concept. First of all, we wanted to keep in mind that the audience for this website, it is not a resident, it's not a town employee, it's not a business owner. The ideal audience for this website is a tourist, someone who is connected online, looking to book a trip. The other thing that this website does for us is it's fully responsive and it's accessible. Now, when I say it's fully responsive, that means that no matter what kind of device you're looking at it on, including your really small smartphone, you will still see these really great, vivid images. Our corporate site isn't a responsive website, so we don't have that same mobile experience, but this website is designed so that no matter whether you're on a tablet, a phone, or a desktop or laptop, you'll get a very similar experience. The other thing that we wanted to keep in mind is that we wanted to inspire visitors to book a stay and to visit the attractions in our community. And we did that by trying to paint a really vivid picture and telling really compelling stories about the authentic experiences that a visitor could have if they come to Essex. So I'm hoping that you'll notice that some of these photographs should be very, you should recognize the places where many of these photographs were taken. I'm not sure what to do here, Rob. Oh, there we go. No, wrong decision. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Okay. So you'll see we have some very visually arresting photography on this website. So I'm going to be fairly brief because I want to give Nelson some time to talk about the directory, but I want to show you that obviously there are three homepage banners. So as I've been talking, they've just been rotating between three themes that we think are our three top selling features: wineries, cycling, and our waterfront. So those are reflected in those rotating banners. You'll also notice that it looks and feels a lot like our corporate site. It has 5 different verticals with these drop-down menus. So we've got see and do, all the things, or many of the things that you might think a visitor would want to do in the town of Essex. Eat and drink, obviously people are going to want to go to our pubs, go to our restaurants, go to our wineries, perhaps go to roadside stands, that sort of thing. We've even included a page on finding perch and pickerel. Top 10 Tours is basically a set of tours that we've designed to lead people through how they might organize their day. They are focused on the things that are our strengths, things like heritage, wineries, cycling, beach, things for kids, golfing, etc. Under the stay vertical, we have things that people will need if they want to stay the night: bed and breakfasts, camp and camping, vacation rentals, transportation, a few other items that people might be interested in if they have special interests like cycling. And then the last one is plan your trip, things that you might need to know. For example, if you come to Essex in an electric vehicle, you might want to know whether we have any electric vehicle charging stations. So we've included those things here as well. So as I was hovering over those, you could see that the pop-ups came up. There are many ways to get into a website. This is fairly standard these days, but I do want to point out that if you had a niche interest and you came to our website, you might be able to find it in a multitude of ways. So you could go to the search bar and you could search for it up here. You could pull down I'd like to and see if any of the things you're interested in appear in those menus. You can go to the A to Z listing and you can see if there are any items in there that interest you. You can go to one of the verticals, of course. You can also go down to some of these feature boxes. So you can go directly to our events calendar here from this fiddler who played at one of our fun fests in the past few years. You can go and find out where you could eat by clicking over here on Extraordinary Eats. Farm Fresh is about roadside stands. Beachside Fun is about the beach. Arts and Culture, obviously, is about arts culture. Echoes of the Past is about our heritage. And then in a moment, I'm going to pass it over to Nelson, and he'll talk about the tourism directory. Down below, we have a video. This is the video that TWEPI prepared for the town of Essex. I won't play it for you, but please go on and take a listen. This is a video that we can swap out for other videos in future as we have additional ones that we want to share. Because most people, not most people, but many people are using mobile devices to do much of their business. And when you're on a mobile device, you know you always scroll up. So this is designed to be more of a scrolling activity. So you'll see that I'm scrolling down on the page. Here we have Getting Here. You'll see that the map has been customized for us. And if you click on Get Directions, you'll go to a page where it explains how to get to many of the locations, to each of the centers in our community. And then at the very bottom of the page, there is a site map. and a few other little details. We are currently, as of today, still going live. So right now, eSolutions has pointed us to our actual URL, tourismessex.ca, but there are some pages that have not been populated, and there are some things that may not work exactly right for a few days because they're still ironing out some details. We're still working on making sure that all of our links are not broken, that things are not misspelled, and all of sort of the maintenance work. But just to assure you, that's being done. I believe that I've explained everything that was my portion of the presentation. Perhaps I'll pass it over to Nelson. He can talk about the tourism directory, and then if you have questions at the end.
Through you, Your Worship, we wanted to bring a different kind of aspect to the tourism website, something that you don't see in most tourism websites, something that's going to benefit our business community, and something that is going to encourage our visitors to shop local. So the purpose of the business directory on the tourism website was to connect business owners with the tourist, this face-to-face interaction, like you wouldn't see in a normal business directory. A normal business directory would have a photo, maybe a little description and a link to the website. Our directory really connects the tourist with the business owner, really telling that business owner's story. So the requirements in order to participate in the tourism directory are twofold. Really, what we wanted to achieve was to really provide the tourism industry in Essex with a set of standards and make it competitive in today's marketplace. And the other reason was really to increase consumer confidence when potential visitors are considering Essex as a tourist destination. So there's two sets of standards. There's visitor ready and market ready. Visitor ready really refers to a tourism business that is ready for customers. So you have a bricks and mortar shop, you have ATM, you have debit, you are able to make advanced reservations, you have signage on your sites. When we go into market ready, it's really the next step of tourism or market readiness, business readiness. So if you're visitor ready, you don't technically qualify, but if you're market ready, you would qualify. We're working to get businesses that are visitor ready up to those certain standards to qualify for the website. So we're going to be working with them in the future in order for them to participate in the website. So we'll move on to market ready. Market ready really refers to those independently owned tourism-related businesses that communicate with their tourists on a year-round basis. They are on Facebook, they are on Twitter, they are on Instagram, TripAdvisor, they have a website, they are always communicating with the tourists. So we want to really partner with those businesses to promote our website, to link tourists back to our website, and really showcase the amazing tourism-related businesses and attractions that we have in our community. So we've been partnering with nearly 30 businesses in the town of Essex, and that number keeps rising. Just in terms of profile creation, to show you how much work actually goes into one profile, we send out our summer student, and she goes out, she takes photos, she talks to the businesses, she does interviews, and takes photos that are really eye-capturing. They are awe-inspiring photos. They're not your regular tourism or your regular photo off of an iPhone. They're actually professionally done. So that would take about 3 hours for her to go out, write the profile, or go out, take photos, and interview the business owner. Then you go on to writing the profile and editing the information, and that information then gets passed to our communications department, who does all the editing, who looks over the material, so that the written information really showcases the story of the business owner, how they got started, why do they like doing business in the town of Essex. And then on to the next step is where we upload the content onto the website. That could take up to an hour. uploading the written content, the photos, and moving on to the next is sending the photos back to the businesses to get their approval, which to me is the most important part, is that we are taking photos but then sharing those photos with the businesses to use for their own marketing purposes. So phase one, what we did was contact our tourism sectors, really. The wineries, accommodations, restaurants, gift shops, attractions, tour guides. Those were was the first step to be included in the tourism directory, were those types of businesses. So by tomorrow, we'll have 30 businesses completed, and we have our summer student for the next 5 weeks, and we're hoping to get another 10 profiles created. I'm shooting high there, but we're hoping to get another 10 created by the beginning of September. And then obviously sending those photos back to the business owners. The next step really after the summer is prepping for next year. Getting businesses, contacting those businesses that weren't contacted in the first round to get them a part of the program. Really working with businesses that aren't market ready, but really wanting to get to that next step. We'll host market readiness workshops with TWEPI or with SWATSI, which are destination marketing organizations, and our provincial regional tourism organizations, working with them to help businesses get market ready and be on the website. And then the benefits, really. The benefits of the tourism directory, it creates a more competitive tourism industry. It gives those photos back to our businesses for them to use. And it's unique. It's really unique. There's not another tourism directory like this in Essex County. Keeps visitors on the website for as long as possible. We're not directing them back to the proponent's website. We want to keep them on our website as long as possible. It promotes our locally owned tourism businesses, and it gives us increased web traffic, which hopefully